Hey everyone, welcome to episode 12 of our Pokemon Soul Silver Randomizer Nuzlocke. Today's episode's a little different because even though it looks like I'm talking to you while playing this game, I actually didn't have my sound on recording when I was starting to play, so I'm now doing a voiceover after the fact. So I'm going to be narrating for you what happened in this episode instead of talking to you in real time like I normally would. Unfortunately, I filmed 2 episodes back to back, so this is the case for both of them. So 12 and 13, episodes 12 and 13, I will be voicing over. Episode 14 will be back to my live reactions. Sorry about that. Of course, the one time I didn't do the testing 1, 2, 3 before I filmed was the time my headset was not working. Anyway, I was just right there explaining how I had Altaria still in the party because we have yet to find a flying type in the wild that we can catch. So while I can't use Altaria in battle, I do have to use it to fly around. Secondly, I did explain how there was a Raikou and Entei I've run into during the EV training, so those are now showing up as roaming on the map. Unfortunately, we're out of encounters, so we can't get them. But what we can get is we can use Headbutt and go to Azalea Town. I did not know before if you could get an Azalea Town encounter way back in the beginning of the game. At the time, we didn't have a Pokemon with Headbutt, and I did go back and do some Googling, and it says you can get an Azalea Town encounter in one of the trees behind Kurt's house. Unfortunately, it didn't give me a picture of the trees behind Kurt's house, so I had to come up here and start headbutting trees like you wouldn't believe. It was kind of annoying, because I believe, if you'll watch here, the first few trees I tried did not have... they didn't really do anything for us, so now is probably where I'm explaining what I just told you in real life. But yeah, so I hit a few trees and it didn't really work. So we'll give it a moment while I walk around and headbutt a few various trees to try to figure out which one would be our encounter. And the goal here, once again, is we needed a flying type, a fire type, or maybe an electric type. Ideally flying, so we can both fly around, and that would help us cover some of our weaknesses when it comes to either grass or something like that, as well as fighting. We have a big weakness to fighting types. I think this is the tree I did ultimately find an encounter on. Oh, maybe it's this next one. Shiny Snorlax jumping around. Okay, right here, yeah. So this is where I did find an encounter. Unfortunately, when it popped up, it was an Apom, which even though we didn't ultimately use the Apom from the egg that we got, I called it a Dupe's Claws. We're not going to catch it. So we're going to get a reroll on this one. I don't know if people think that's fair or not, but it felt like Dupe's Claws just because it did already have the Pokeball symbol there. So I decided we're going to go ahead and re-headbutt that tree, and we found a different Pokemon this time. I wasn't sure whether it would be different or not, but it was. It was right here, a female Heracross. Luckily, these Pokemon in the headbutted trees are so low level that I was able to go ahead, grab the bag, grab a Quick Ball, and throw one at it, and you'll see in a moment that Quick Ball will catch it. The problem was, the next thing we have to do in this episode is battle Claire at the Blackthorn City Gym. I had gone through and trained up all our Pokemon to level 45/46, right at that level cap for the gym battle. And included in that was I went and battled all the gym trainers within the gym, so there's no real way for me to level up Heracross right now in this episode. I did go and name it Beetlejuice before I realized I wouldn't have enough room to name it that, so I just kind of went with it, knowing we wouldn't be able to use it now, or probably not for the Elite Four either, because it doesn't really fit what our team needs. But Beetlejuice it is for Heracross, who goes straight to our PC. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and battle Claire. My strategy, and I notated many times through the episode how our mom calls just every 2 seconds. She is giving us berries that will help for the Elite Four, but at this very moment, I cannot stand the constant phone ringing in my ear while I'm trying to record the video. It's very funny, though. So here, we're going to come into the Pokemon Center. We're just going to make sure we do our final heal up, and I'm going to swap out Cotton Swab, who cannot be used in battle, and I'm going to get a Pokemon out that can be used if we need it. I did do a swap at the Pokemon Daycare, so instead of having our Wooper in there, I withdrew Wooper, evolved it into Quagsire, and I believe I dropped Torkoal into the Daycare alongside... No, Torkoal's out too. I dropped 2 other Pokemon in the Daycare that I can now suddenly not remember whom it was, but that should be fine as we wander around and let things happen there. And so, without anything else to explain, I think my next move... Oh, nope, I did go ahead and I went to the move tutor as well. That's the great thing about getting to Blackthorn City, is you now have the move tutors, which you can go ahead and either teach them the super starter moves like Frenzy Plant and Blast Burn and all that, or you can use Heart Scales, which I did a bunch of headbutting for to get some Heart Scales, and we can go ahead right here and we can teach Snorlax Belly Drum. Belly Drum is an attack that maximizes your attack stat in exchange for half of your HP. Snorlax being so bulky, and seeing as we EV trained it in HP, defense, and special defense, it is a perfect candidate for Belly Drum, and it has rest. So I go ahead and I teach Snorlax Belly Drum now that we no longer need Headbutt, and what we can do is we can use that and then use rest to heal up, and we'll be a fully healed with a 6 times attack boost, or a +6 attack boost on Snorlax. That was my plan going into this gym, was lead with Snorlax to really see what Claire is going to have, and then we can go ahead and just switch out as needed. One thing to note is this will by far be the toughest gym challenge yet, because Claire typically would have a Gyarados, 2 Dragonair, and then a Kingdra. Now, because of the randomizer, that will not be her Pokemon. However, the Pokemon that are replaced will have roughly similar stat totals. So that means, let's see, Dragonair is not the strongest Pokemon, but its total stats is somewhere in the 400s, I think. So you could realistically get a replacement such as Magneton, or I don't know what else is in that 400 range. But it's something like that, where you're looking at an evolved Pokemon that's maybe not like a Dragonite, because that's basically a pseudo-legendary, and it's going to be a decently strong Pokemon. Meanwhile, Kingdra, I believe, has stat totals in the 500s, which means its substitutes are approaching legendary territory. They won't be legendaries, but it's not out of the question that they would be something like, I don't know, even a Charizard. Like, Charizard is probably a good comp for what Kingdra could be switched into. Last but not least here, you'll see I went around just checking if our Pokemon could learn some TMs and HMs, and I did go ahead and give Solar Beam to our Victor, the Victory Bell. The reason being is I was finally able to use the move to leader to take cut off of Victor, and now Victor is much better off with a Stab Solar Beam for a special attacking EV trained Pokemon. And then of course there's the gym puzzle here, which I find to be a total pain in the butt. It's not really that hard now that I'm an adult, but I remember as a kid being like, or I shouldn't even say as a kid because I was like 15 when this game came out, but I remember the first time doing this being totally frustrated by it. Now it's pretty easy, even though I'm kind of lucky because I was able to just do it right now when I was battling the trainers off screen, so I kind of got a little sneak peek into what I needed to do to complete that puzzle. And then we come up here to the last one, which is the toughest, and I think I do make a couple of mistakes here. You'll see me bouncing around trying to figure out which way to go. I do a whole complete 360. I bring it all the way up north, and then I'm like, oh crap, I gotta do another 360 or another 180. So here I go. I'm gonna spin the tiles once again, and I'm gonna see what we are up against with Claire. And I think now is probably where I explained to you that I was going to lead with Snorlax. But here we go. In with Claire, the Dragon Trainer. We will see what she has. Oh, Dragon Master. I'm sorry. I don't want to call her a Dragon Trainer. And 4 Pokemon. The first one should be around level 40, 41, and then it will go all the way up to level 45. Okay, 42. And it was a Ninetales she started with, which at the initial outset, I was like, okay, perfect. Exactly the kind of Pokemon that we can yawn, then Belly Drum, then Rest, and then just sweep her whole team. But Ninetales led off with Confuse Ray, which is a 50% chance of us hurting ourselves, and without fail, that 50% feels like 100%, because right there, we hurt ourselves. Ninetales went for a very weak Quick Attack. I said, okay, and I went for Yawn again, this time hitting the Yawn. But, because this keeps happening to me, we then get Quick Attacked, and 50% chance. What does that mean? Oh, that means we're going to hurt ourselves. So now here I am. I know we can take the Ninetales Quick Attacks, but our Belly Drum is going to get us to very low HP. So I'm playing with fire a little bit. I do go ahead and I try again, and we hurt ourselves again. And now I'm frustrated, and I'm not paying as much attention to our health, and I finally use the Belly Drum. Like, thank God we snapped out of confusion. And then I'm like, oh crap, that's going to bring us very low to the bottom of our health. I then go back and forth a little bit, and I'm like, it is asleep. If it stays asleep and we get the rest off, we will be in a perfect situation to annihilate it because we'll be at +6 attack. But on the other hand, we could switch out and play it safe and not lose Ted. But when am I someone to run away from a challenge? I go with rest because I want to play. I'm going to live life on the edge. Luckily, it pays off. Ninetales stays asleep. We put ourselves to sleep but get all that HP back, knowing that Ninetales' only attacking move appears to be Quick Attack, which is actually pathetic for a level 42 Ninetales. But that's also something you've run into in the Johto games, where there's just not a lot of good attacks available in like TMs available for us, and apparently the gym leaders run into that too. Doesn't stop them from using Confuse Ray though, because they go for another Confuse Ray on my Ted the Snorlax. So Shiny Ted is really getting his money's worth in this battle. He's now asleep and confused. I know after 2 turns we're going to wake up, which we do. And then, miraculously, we get that Body Slam off, and we're at +6 in attack. So this Body Slam easily is going to one-hit KO Ninetales. And now things are looking better. We just have to get out of the confusion, and we're sweeping this fight. But of course, the next Pokemon that comes in is a Machoke, which is probably the only type that it makes me nervous to keep Ted in. And I am glad I switched. I do a switch out to Victor, who will resist whatever attack is thrown at us for fighting. And Machoke goes with a Cross Chop, which is a very powerful move with a high critical hit ratio, and had me very glad I switched out of our Snorlax, because I do not want to lose Snorlax this close to the Elite Four. We need it, and we don't have a lot of encounters left to replace it. Victor comes in, though. I forgot about Safeguard, so I wasted a turn on that. But then the second turn, Safeguard wore off, and I was able to put Machoke to sleep. And then I'm able to use Victor for what it was meant for, which is a special sweeper. So I drop the old Sludge Bomb on it. I considered a Solar Beam, but we go with Sludge Bomb. That Sludge Bomb does a lot of damage to Machoke, who is still asleep, but it wakes up on the first turn. That seems to be the luck in this battle, is confusions and cross chops. I get nervous again, have no way to heal Victor, so I need to switch out, and I say, you know what? This is why I brought an untrained Quagsire that's just leveled up through the daycare, because I need to be able to switch out and risk a Pokemon's life without the chance of dying. Quagsire comes in. All my Pokemon I try to keep with Yawn or Sleep Powder or something. So Quagsire comes in, takes a Cross Chop for less than half, and gets the Yawn off, which I was shocked by, but also very happy by. That allows us a chance to go in and just start bashing away with Earthquake, knowing that we're going to lose Quagsire in this fight, but hoping to get as much chip damage off of Machoke as humanly possible. Machoke does get some chip damage. In fact, he loses about half of its health. Quagsire, the Yawn, it puts him to sleep, and now we have a chance to actually take out Machoke with Quagsire. Absolutely crazy. I questioned whether or not we were going to run into a range situation and if this was going to keep Machoke alive, and wouldn't you know it, it doesn't. We either get a higher end of a range, or it's just a better attack that can 2-hit KO consistently with Quagsire. So, happy about that. Now it's time to see if we can live an attack on a Monferno, and it has close combat, so of course we're not going to live an attack on Monferno. But I am okay with that, because Quagsire was not part of our plans. Rip Quagsire, rest in peace. Thank you for helping take out that Machoke. But now we have gotten a Monferno, and while it has close combat, it now is not able to outspeed Mega Man because we are EV trained in speed, and it has a lowered defense. So we can come in and just throw a real quick Force Palm. I couldn't remember what I was going to use. Throw a Force Palm at it. Its defense has already been lowered, and it's not a final evolution. So goodbye Monferno. Not the best replacement for a Dragonair. And that brings the last Pokemon, which, for some odd reason, is another part fighting type. I mentioned at the beginning of our episode, fighting is one type we don't have a ton of things to counter with. Our water type, which would normally be neutral to fighting, happens to have a steel secondary typing, making it weak. Mega Man here is weak to fighting. It's also weak to ground, which Toxicroak goes for the Mud Bomb. Thank God it wasted a turn on a Nasty Plot, which it can't even utilize because it's a physical attacker, not a special attacker. So, dumb movements by the CPU there, but that's okay. We then bring in Ted, bringing him back, knowing it's at full health. We no longer have the Belly Drum, but Toxicroak wastes another turn on Nasty Plot, which would be absolutely terrifying if it knew anything that wasn't a physical attack. And then it follows it up with Poison Jab, which is a physical attack. So we're lucky. We get the yawn off. Now I'm very excited because Ted is ready to just body slam this thing. And it goes for another Poison Jab. We have only lost a little more than half of our health. And now this body slam is going to come in and do a good half of its health, activating its held Citrus Berry, which normally would be frustrating, but it is now asleep. It is not in a range where they're going to use any sort of hyper potions, and it is in range where Ted can finish off the battle with a body slam, assuming we don't hit a range, which we do actually hit the positive end. And just like that, despite a little bit of bouncing back and forth and having to maneuver, we go ahead and we have won the battle against Claire, but we have not won our gym badge because Claire is a little beep. I don't usually swear in these videos typically because I want to make them more kid-friendly on the playthroughs, but you know what I meant to say there. So we leave the gym knowing we need to go heal, and then we need to travel into Dragon's Den to get our actual badge and an optional encounter. We can get a Dragon's Den encounter, or similar to the Togepi gift egg that we got in Violet City, I can choose to overwrite our wild encounter in Dragon's Den with an actual encounter in the form of a gift Pokemon. I just can't use both, so I have to decide, do I keep the gift Pokemon or do I keep whatever we catch in the water? That's what we're going to have to find out right now. So, having swapped swapping our dead Wooper, may he rest in peace, out of the party, we go and heal up, and we go on our merry way to Dragon's Den, where we will need Whirlpool. Whirlpool right now is just going to have to go on Empoleon, because I don't want to teach Ted a special attacking Whirlpool move, especially with such a great setup we have right now on Ted. And honestly, Emperor the Empoleon doesn't have any great does not have a great move pool, surprisingly, for a special attacking type, which is what we went with for EV training, mainly because of Surf, giving it that special Surf attack. Drill Peck would still be useful enough, but I haven't used a Heart Scale to remember Drill Peck. So, Whirlpool on Empoleon it is. It's just becoming an HM person instead of what it's supposed to be, which is a special sweeper with a little extra bulk. And now that I've taken a sip of water while I spew all this nonsense, we wander into Dragon's Den, where we have our first trainer encounter, as I suddenly realize, oh, I guess we have to battle it. That's okay, though. I'm still a little nervous, thinking we're going to run into Claire-level trainers, and it turns out this guy is far from a Claire-level trainer. Don't know how he was allowed in the Dragon's Den when we weren't until after getting the gym badge, especially when he throws out a Cherim, which is a Pokemon I just despise. I don't know if it's useful or if it was useful at some point in competitive or what, or if people like to use it in their playthroughs of like Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, but I just think this is the dumbest Pokemon ever. I think the gimmick of changing forms with the weather when it's sunny is kind of just bleh, because it's still not that good of a Pokemon. And I basically spent this whole battle crapping all over this Cherim as I went and took it out with physical attacking feint attacks, despite our Hades being special attack trained. I'm becoming a broken record with how our Pokemon are all trained in special attack instead of attack. Our Lucario is trained in attack, and our Muck was trained in some attack, but our Muck fainted. Our Murkrow was our other Pokemon that had been trained in physical attack, and that thing also took a beating at the hands of, it was Chuck, I believe, at the Cianwood Gym. So now we have a lot of special attackers and Lucario, and Snorlax, who technically is a physical attacker, but it's more of a wall. I decided to go with the fishing encounter because we've had good luck with those, and wouldn't you know it, good luck again. As it popped up, the music was playing for legendary music, and I freaked out, and I was like, this is it, this is it, this is a legendary, and then I saw the Suicune, and this is redemption. We did not catch a Suicune after running out of Pokeballs in the forest, what's it called, Azalea Forest? Forget what it's called. But now we have a chance because it's much lower level than us. I am way more stocked up on different Pokeballs from Kurt, as well as some Ultra Balls. And so now I get ready for the long, drawn-out back and forth with Suicune, really hoping, although skeptical that we can even catch it, and also in the back of my mind knowing even if we do catch it, I might not use it because it is a water type and we already have Empoleon. We could make a switch out of Empoleon after this, but that would require me training this Suicune up, and now that we have all 8 gym badges and getting it up to an acceptable level of 53 in time for the Elite Four felt like too much, more than I would want to tackle, especially when we could lose Pokemon in the Elite Four and then bring in Suicune for the whole second half of the playthrough in the Kanto side of the game. So I take the slow and steady route of trying to just work my way through Suicune's health using a variety of Pokeballs and Great Balls and keeping it sleeping and letting Hades chip away at it. And that goes on for quite a while, so then I decided, hey, let me at least chip away at it, assuming we're not going to catch it, and I'll do it off screen so you guys don't have to watch the constant back and forth, because it's a lot of hypnosis, it wakes up, I have to hypnosis it again, then it fails for me to catch it a couple times, then I hypnosis it, then it gets hurt a little bit by bad dreams, so on and so forth, back and forth for a good 5 minutes straight, and that's what continues to happen as it just hits me with status moves and bites. So finally, once Suicune is down into the red, I switch out of our Hades, the Darkrai, because I don't want to hurt it anymore by accident, going into Victor, because Victor also has a Sleep Powder move, which will let us keep putting it to sleep as we throw our Ultra Balls. And this goes on a little while longer because it falls asleep, Victor has to put it, it wakes up, Victor has to put it back to sleep, and we throw Ultra Balls, and this just continues and continues and continues. Until finally I decide, you know what? It can't hurt us, we just need to keep putting it to sleep. So I throw a net ball, which, once again, it fails on the first, no shakes. Then I realize, oh, it's not even asleep, I need to put it back to sleep, because I'm a dingus sometimes and I don't pay attention, especially when I'm mad about legendaries. It's actually amazing that I threw so many net balls without realizing it was awake. I just kept doing it, and I probably wasted time here, which I hope isn't foreshadowing into what ends up happening. But finally I recognize it, I go for the Sleep Powder, and I'm like, okay, it can't hurt us, we're just going to start throwing Pokeballs on fast, and I'm going to fast forward, if it wakes up I'll put it back to sleep, but you guys don't need to keep seeing me just throw Pokeball after Pokeball after Pokeball. So, we go through all different kinds of Pokeballs. I throw Dusk Balls, and Fast Balls, and Ultra Balls, and Net Balls, and then finally I just say, you know what, screw it, we're going for a Heavy Ball. Maybe this thing's heavy, I don't know, but we have 13 of them, and wouldn't you figure, on the second one, we catch Suicune. Excellent for us. I obviously want to give it a nickname because I am excited, and to go with our other mythical Pokemon, Hades the Darkrai, I say, hey, why don't we go ahead and name this one Poseidon? As in Poseidon the god, not whatever I might have just sounded like I said. Weird flex, I don't know why I said that. Continuing on, I fumble around with the keys as I try to remember how to spell Poseidon, and then I do finally get it, as it's a Poseidon, Poseidon, the god of the sea, aka Suicune, now added to our team. I was happy, you were happy, he, she, it was happy. And we move right along. There's Poseidon in a Heavy Ball, Water type, with a nature that weirdly lowers defense and raises attack. Wasn't exactly planning for that, because I figured I would just use it as a special attacker with more bulk if I needed to. But this is what we've got. We can't go back and change it. It was hard enough to catch once, and there's no resetting in a Nuzlocke. But there we go. There we have it, a Poseidon. Now, we actually have to do what we came here for and get our 8th gym badge. So, I jump in the water, and I'm pretty sure I forgot to use a repel because I run into a Pokemon, and to my pleasant surprise, it's a Furret. And I'm sitting here exclaiming how, thank God I decided to fish for this encounter, because if I had just swam around and caught a Furret, I would have been sorely disappointed. And then I notice, hey, there's an item. I think I want that item. So I take one for the team, I go ahead and I do the double battle, and it turns out it's a very, very weak double battle with a Snorunt and a Mime Jr., and the two Pokemon I have at the front of my party both have attacks that are super effective against those two. So we throw a quick Ominous Wind at Mime Jr., because Ghost kills Psychic, and then Emperor goes ahead and throws a quick Metal Claw at Snorunt. And despite Metal Claw not being the strongest steel move and Emperor not having the highest attack stat, it one-shots it because it's a Snorunt and it needs to evolve. So that was that quick twin battle. Also, I can run over here and get, wouldn't you figure, a max elixir, which will be useful as we get through the Elite Four. After the 4th Elite Four member, I'll want to make sure I have full PP in all my moves. And then there's a Celebi! Why? Just why is there a Celebi, I ask? No one knows. Nobody knows. I could have caught a Celebi. I would have happily replaced Victory Bell with a Celebi. But we don't have that option, so I have to run away. Still mostly satisfied with Suicune, but a little taken aback that there was also a Celebi in this cavern. And a Psychic Grass would have been a much better fit for our team than just a pure water Suicune. It's okay, though. I will move on with my life, and I will not think about the losses, but only those positive moments. And now it's time for us to come inside, talk to the old man who's going to ask us a bunch of questions, hoping we don't say the evil things, like we like to cheat and hurt our Pokemon, and we don't like weak Pokemon, and blah, 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 blah. He asks all those silly questions. I obviously pick the intelligent ones to get us a gift Pokemon. And knowing that as long as we do this, our gift Pokemon, which normally would be a Dratini, will have the move Extreme Speed. But I assumed it would be randomized. And I guess you'll have to see what happens next, because we talk to Claire. We do get our badge. Claire is astounded we passed that silly little test on the first try, even though it is very easy and obvious. He then tells us about Lugia. I go out, I come back in thinking, hey, this must be our moment where we're allowed to get the gift Pokemon. I walk back up to him, and he's just like, go check out Lugia, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, gosh darn it, we can't get our gift Pokemon yet. Not necessarily thinking we're going to have to use the gift Pokemon anyways, because we caught a Suicune in this cavern, and I'd have to release Suicune in order to accept the gift Pokemon. But I'd still like to have the option. Unfortunately, I don't have the option. So, once again, we're surfing out of Dragon's Den, getting ready to get the Lunar Wing, which I think is given to us by Professor Elm, but not before we get Dragon Pulse from Claire, as she feels bad for being such a, you know what I was saying before, kind of person. We leave the Dragon's Den, we walk up and out the door, and then Professor Elm calls. I, for some reason, call my mom, thinking, you know what, I keep ignoring her calls, we should call her back. She answers, she says, how's it going? I say, oops, sorry, butt dial, and I hang up. Then we jump on Empoleon, we swim right along and down to the Pokemon Center to heal up and get our ever so dead, but ever so useful for flying, Cotton Swab Altaria. And that's what I walked by the PC. Ha, silly me. That's what happens when I use the speed up button. I just get overzealous. So, Altaria, once again, you're back in the squad, even though you shouldn't need to be. But we just have not run into any more flying types. Suicune, you're on the bench for now because you're only level 20 and I have not yet had a chance to EV train you. And since I actually film episodes back to back, the next episode also will not include Suicune. Sorry for the spoiler alert. I filmed back-to-back so that we could get all the way to the legendary encounter in the Whirl Islands, which I mistakenly kept calling the Swirl Islands, so I guess it's a good thing that recording didn't save. But anyway, I fly to Ecruteak City. I said Ecruteak City. I fly to New Barktown, where we talk to Lyra, whatever. We get the Master Ball from Professor Elm, which will be a good, just in case we find the Lugia legendary and I cannot catch it, we can throw that Master Ball at it. Although I would like to save the Master Ball until we get to the Kanto region, because we will have an opportunity to get either Mewtwo, which will be substituted for something else. There's also, you can get the Rainbow Wing, so we could go to the Ho-Oh Tower and catch whatever's in place of Ho-Oh. There's just a lot of good Pokemon, even roaming Pokemon in Kanto, that would be nice for us to catch, so I would like to save this Master Ball if we can. But now that we're in Ecruteak City, I go ahead and I put away Altaria, and I am essentially prepared to take on the Camino Girls after a perfectly timed out, roughly 30-minute episode. So thank you very much for watching. As you see here... Oh, I forgot the most important part. Duh. Before I fly to Ecruteak City, I need to go, and now that we have the, not Lunar Wing, the Silver Wing, I do need to come in and check out our gift Pokemon, thinking this must be the moment we can get it. So, back into Dragon's Den. I jumped the gun a little bit, saying it was the end of the episode, and I guess it wasn't a perfect 30 minutes, although it was much darn closer than some of my other episodes, I must say. Grab that calcium. There are a few items in Dragon's Den that are useful, especially those ones for easy EV training. I do a nice loop-de-loop to make sure I didn't miss anything, because it's been a while since I played this game. Once I'm convinced I didn't miss anything, I hop on into the old dungeon, swim back around past the other side, reflect wears off, I run on the land, I go into my Pokegear by accident, I go into my bag after realizing I made a mistake, I use another Max Repel, I then back out and jump back into the water right on top of Empoleon, who for some reason, even though it's an Empoleon, looks like a whale, and I realize I got stuck. So then, I jump back in the water again, and I surf over to get the actual thing we came for, which is a Dragon Fang. And one more time, we hop into the water. Oh wait, did I say one more time? No, I keep landing on that island for some godforsaken reason. Now we get to go in and get our gift Pokemon from the Elder. He says it's a Dratini. I say, sir, I don't believe you. Let's nickname it, and you can prove it to us. I go to the nickname, and wouldn't you figure it's a Wartortle. Not only is that not better than a Suicune, it is also a duplicate Pokemon, which is so upsetting because I would rather our gifts be something useful. So it goes without saying, but I'm not going to be using our Blah the Wartortle. But I do find it does have the extreme speed move, which you could never get on a Blastoise usually. Disappointing though. Well, I'll be releasing Wartortle and using Suicune if we need to get another water type. Now is the point where I exit the cavern and I plan to fly out to Ecruteak City, because that is where we do need to battle all 5 Camino girls. It is 5 individual battles with 1 Pokemon each, but the battle does happen back to back to back, and you do not have the opportunity to heal in the middle, and you do not have the opportunity to switch up the order of your Pokemon or anything like that. So the battle is not the easiest one. That's where we'll start off next episode, another narrated episode. But thank you for watching. Have a good day. Talk to you next time.